Oh, you can come on this podcast anytime you like. I mean, I thought that he was going to convince me that Germany would win the World Cup. Now I'm thinking it's England.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking... I didn't think at the start of this today I would be leaving this thinking about how Harry Kane is going to lead England to winning the World Cup, but there you go.
This is Park the Bus with Steven Caldwell, Kevin Kilbane and Luke Wileman.
Welcome into Graham Leggett's for another edition of Park the Bus. Raphael Honigstein coming up later on today as we talk all things Germany, maybe a bit of Austria as well.
Yes, we've had a good few weeks of it with Spain and France last week, obviously. So it's nice to get a bit of a flavour of what's happening in these other countries, isn't it?
I'm interested to see what he's got to say about Germany because they're kind of team in transition a little bit. You know, they've lost a lot of the old guard. Is he going to be optimistic or pessimistic?
Since winning it, they've not been to the knockout stages, have they? Since winning it in 14. So this will be an interesting World Cup for a lot of nations, but Germany's one that you look at, have they got the talent to go on? They're probably not at the level of Spain, France, England, Argentina, are they? So, you know, where do they see themselves would be quite interesting.
Kev's in a good mood today because he had that big Irish event that he was at this weekend.
Oh, he was buzzing.
How do you know about that?
He was buzzing.
I've seen the pictures.
Have you?
He was buzzing on Friday.
You with, you know,
top table, you know, look.
The most influential people in the province.
Yeah, I had a nice time on Friday afternoon, well, lunch.
Afternoon.
Morning, afternoon. Let's just say
evening.
That went into the evening. No, I had a great time. I met, honestly, the Irish community in Toronto in particular, that's what it was for, and, you know, immigrants coming in, getting the start-up over here. It was, I had a great time. I had a really, really good time, actually, the Irish make a big statement globally, Luke. That's what I would say,
Yeah.
What is the statement?
Oh, big statement. Yeah, well...
Guinness sunk?
There was, it's not... You see,
it's not about that.
You're stereotyping the Irish as, you know, drinkers and, you know, louts. I don't know.
Just preparing for Montreal in June, aren't you?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk of Montreal, actually.
Was there?
Amongst us all, I think there's a lot that's looking forward to getting over there. I don't know.
See, the thing is, I think, as well, if Ireland do qualify for the World Cup...
Yes.
That night, either the night before the game or the night after the game, in Montreal, there will already be people, both nights, in fact, plenty of nights leading up to it and after, there'll already be people coming over for the World Cup as well.
Yes.
So, and it's a 20,000-seat stadium at Stade Saputo.
Yeah.
They'll be all over the city.
Yeah.
Whether they've got tickets or not, people will just come for the party in Montreal.
Yes, that's exactly right. And, well, a lot of the... As you said, they won't be able to get tickets for World Cup games, so it might be the opportunity, and it's not big enough to hold. They need a fan zone, I think, in Montreal. I think for Canadian and Irish fans, I think, to celebrate. I think there's definitely a good feeling between the two countries, which is great. I saw that on Friday. But for this game in particular, I think if Irish supporters want to go down to Mexico, I don't know how you can tell me how far is that drive? 20 hours or something?
Drive to Mexico.
Possible.
How far? Impossible.
Possible.
Impossible to do?
Pretty much, yeah.
Is it?
Get a flight.
I mean, it's possible.
But
why would you?
Nothing's impossible to the Irish, Stevie. Nothing's impossible.
They've got to get a plane.
They've probably got a week after that game, maybe 10 days.
You've got to get a plane, surely.
I don't know.
We'll see.
They're going to bar crawl all the way from Montreal to Mexico and then miss the World Cup.
Never make it.
Miss the World Cup.
Never make it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Some atmosphere.
But you were with some important people, weren't you?
There was one or two dignitaries there.
Doesn't want to name drop, but
he's mixing in very important circles.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. I had a couple of beers with him after the event. I never got invited.
Didn't you?
Not important enough, but that's okay.
Well, not Irish
Maybe
enough.
I'll be there next year.
Not Irish enough.
I could be Irish. I could drink Guinness.
By the way,
stereotype.
Stereotyping it, honestly, yeah.
We touched on it last week. But this guy is now 100% officially Canadian.
So congratulations,
congratulations.
Stevie. Congratulations.
Very proud to
I'm
be
the only
Canadian.
one here now that isn't Canadian.
Which is crazy, because you have to be Canadian. You can get there. Come on.
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully I've inspired you to go and get that
very
passport.
smart in your picture with the judge.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed
smart.
the ceremony. It was a great little day, it was.
Another story on Friday, though. I met one of the guys who was organising the event, and he said to me, "You wouldn't believe it. Just this Tuesday, I became a Canadian citizen." He said so, and I went, "Oh, a friend of mine just become." He went, "I know, it's Caldwell." He goes, "He was at the same event. We were both becoming Canadian citizens at the same time."
Amazing.
So it was amazing.
I met him in the pub. I met him in the pub, and I remembered him because he had his family there. He had his young daughters, and his wife was becoming a citizen as well. And they were both in the pub, actually. Lovely people. We had a great time.
Yeah, good. Proud day for you, though. Proud
reminiscent.
Day.
It was. I really enjoyed it.
Delighted.
The only thing I was disappointed, my kids weren't there. And weren't becoming citizens. But hopefully they'll get there. But I'm glad and looking forward to actually leaving this and getting to that passport office to try and get my Canadian passport for the World Cup.
Someone just told me that it's a 44-hour drive, Montreal to Guadalajara.
That's easy for the Irish. That's easy. They'll do
that. Do that in one. They don't.
Oh yeah, just do that. As you say, they'll stop off in various cities along the way.
Some of my favourite stories that my dad gives us the past is when they used to drive to Wembley for Scotland, England back in the day.
In those days, that was about 3 days.
Well, they'd take like a week. They'd stop off, they'd go in like camper
Leeds.
vans, they'd sleep in the van or whatever, and everyone would take a go at driving and said it was unbelievable. So I can see some kind of tour like that happening with the Irish.
There you go. Well, it's Ireland's first World Cup that we qualified for was the Italian 90, and the amount of camper vans, I don't know what they called it, but camper vans that left Dublin to get on the boat and head to wherever in Italy.
Amazing.
So they toured over there, and then we've taken that across North America last time for the World Cup in '94. I would imagine they were going everywhere to get to the games, So
now, I'm not sure how many weeks this competition has been running for, but we can finally bring an end to the TAJON Buchanan jersey giveaway this week.
I'm so pleased.
And by the way, he didn't score since December, but when it came, what a goal it was. Great finish from TAJON Buchanan. For those who haven't been following, we've been running a competition with a signed TAJON Buchanan jersey, courtesy of La Liga, and we were asking people to pick the time that he would score his next goal. Each game went by. He scored this stunner in the 31st minute, and at Turnbull Scott on YouTube guessed 32 minutes. So he was 1 minute off.
Excellent.
So he gets the signed TAJON Buchanan jersey. Unfortunately, a minute off, so he doesn't get the full
trip in
studio experience and you making tea for him.
It's unfortunate for him. There's no way he wanted to come in here and watch this being recorded.
No, exactly.
But fair play to him. Well done. It was a great goal, wasn't it?
It was a great goal.
It's great end to him.
And there was a lot of guesses, a lot of predictions on the time. I had a little look at the YouTube when you text the group chat saying TAJON had scored. I missed the goal live. Saw the goal, great goal, and went and looked at YouTube. There was a right few guesses, people close.
I was flicking between that game at the time. I was watching Valencia Elche, and I was flicking between because the next channel on was Villarreal. Yeah, the next channel on was Celtic Rangers.
Yeah, we were on that, weren't we? We were watching.
You guys were on that one.
That live.
I mean, what a game!
What a game! It was a bit of a throwback in games in terms I think the quality was actually quite low in the game. Rangers were
a lot of giveaways, wasn't there? A lot of turnovers.
And you expect it kind of in that game, in that type of game with the atmosphere and the intensity that's around that game. But the quality was lacking in key areas, I felt, particularly for Celtic.
Yeah.
But Celtic just hung in there. Trusty played very well for Celtic at the back.
Did, yeah.
Scales was another one.
Arthur, a young lad.
Trusty's interesting because
playing his first Old Firm, Arthur.
Yeah.
He has been in the US team.
Yeah.
And the US central defensive situation isn't solidified, but he's on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
For whatever reason that is.
But really well, Luke. Really well.
I don't know if he's been that consistent at Celtic. The last few weeks he's done really well, and I don't know if this is a coincidence, but Cameron Carter-Vickers has been injured.
Yeah.
And Trusty's actually been the dominant centre-back. He's been the one that's been asked to really step up and be that leader, and he's took it on well, Luke, so maybe he'll sneak in.
What you'd look at it maybe from Mauricio Pochettino's thoughts going into it was it's now every game is massive in Scotland, isn't it? For the three teams, Hearts, Celtic and Rangers. So these big games, he's producing, and he has been producing in the last few weeks. So if you're going into you're in a World Cup year, you want to be producing in big, high-profile games when it really matters, the intensity around them, the nervousness and the edginess around games, and he's producing. So Pochettino has got to be taking notice of this and the form that he's in, hasn't he?
Yeah, he does. He's got to be taking notice. I think, I'm not certain Trusty's his type of profile as centre-back. That might be hurting him, but when you're asked to defend, you're asked to hold your box and throw your body on the line, win headers, win tackles, make blocks, Trusty's your man. It was that kind of game for him because it was so fast.
Yeah.
And another guy that I got to mention that did really well, which might actually affect Canada's own Alistair Johnston, is Julian Araujo has been unbelievable as well, and the fans have really taken to him. He got that last second goal where he dived in the crowd at Kilmarnock.
So what does that mean?
Strong game.
What does that mean? Because Alistair Johnston, wasn't he in the crowd watching at the weekend?
He was in the away end.
He's not back yet.
Yeah.
We're 2 weeks away from the March camp for Canada, so he's not probably going to have played.
I don't think he can play in that camp.
Is he going to get back in the team?
Back in the Celtic team? It's a good question. I mean...
And if he's not, what does that mean for Canada?
It'll be difficult for Canada. It'll certainly be hard to pick a guy in a starting 11 that maybe hasn't started a game for months and months. But I would never bet against Alistair Johnston.
No.
He finds a way to get in a team.
He's one of Celtic's best players, Stevie.
He really is.
But if he hasn't played the games, it becomes much easier at that point for Jesse Marsch to say, Richie Laryea, who, by the way, was brilliant for TFC in Cincinnati. Richie Laryea plays on the right, Alphonso Davies left back, Ali Ahmed's playing left side midfield. There we go, we're good, right?
Or even the way, Segur, Richie Laryea at left back, and Alphonso. You're right. It does make a decision. But what I would say, just going to say that Morton O'Neill always finds a way to get his best players in the team.
He does.
Finds a system that
he's his kind of player as well.
He is. So I think he'll be a big favourite. I think Celtic need him. In this running, Celtic need Alistair Johnston.
They need his grit and his determination.
So I think with the high-profile games that Celtic have got, I think that can only be a good thing for
bet against
Marsch in Canada.
The only thing that I hope is that he's not tentative after the injury, because he really has to hit the ground running. You can't pick a guy that's trying to ease his way in. As you mentioned, Kev, every game's a cup final for Celtic from now to the end of the season. So Alistair Johnston has to get back training and come flying into that team if he's going to start.
And he's on the grass, I believe, isn't he?
He is. He's just starting to train
on
with
the
the team,
grass,
I believe. Yeah, this week I think he's training, I think, fully with the first team now.
So that's good news, obviously, from his point of view. And
Luke de Fougerolles got hurt this weekend, though, which, I mean, I know you love him.
I do.
As if he was your own child. But
I'm a bit too young for him to be my child, maybe.
Actually,
it could be my child.
Guys, it could be my child. Some might say, I don't know what Stevie was anyway.
But listen, Luke de Fougerolles being injured is a blow to depth, isn't it? Because there's no way that he starts the first game for Canada at the World Cup, even if other players are injured, is there?
No way. Jesse Marsch really likes Luke de Fougerolles. I wouldn't say there's no way that he doesn't start. He trusts him. He likes his attitude, he likes the way that he plays. He's had an up and down season, but in recent weeks, which is maybe the most unfortunate thing with this injury, he was playing really well. The new coach in Dender, it was playing a style that suited his game more. And I think essentially the game that Jesse Marsch likes to play. So it's a blow. We don't know how serious the injury is. When we were doing Race for the Roster, Luke, I liked how he sort of tried to play on with it and he walked off. So that's a good sign. But he is a tough kid, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not serious. And having a little text with him on Saturday night when I saw the injury, he was a little concerned. He wanted to, he was waiting on a scan, and so they're concerned enough that they want to get imaging on it and make sure that it's okay.
You've got some.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised they didn't fly over and have dinner with him.
No.
And,
he's a good
calm
boy.
his nerves.
He's a good lad.
No.
And
another one just in the old firm on the other side as well with Rangers, Derek Cornelius. Obviously
yeah, we need him back too.
There's no word. I've not heard anything.
Doesn't look close.
No, it doesn't. We're not hearing whether he's back on the grass or anything yet. So it's going to be.
It's a lot longer than we expected, isn't it?
Absolutely, Cornelius. So it's. There's a lot of areas that Jesse Marsch is obviously monitoring. We've got to goalkeepers, defence, wherever we're at. It seems the midfield is okay right now, and that's an area that you want to keep, and that's probably the most important one. But there are a lot of other moving parts here, aren't there, that Jesse Marsch is concerned with.
We briefly mentioned Richie Laryea, and he was very good at a good Toronto performance. And now they play Michael Bradley in Red Bull New York. How many times are we going to slip up, by the way, on Saturday? Live on TSN at BMO Field.
So used to calling them the Red Bulls.
New York Red Bulls are now Red Bull New York. There are no Red Bulls anymore. So, I don't know. We're going to get Julian de Guzman and maybe Michael Bradley at the weekend as he comes back with them.
Seeing them. They had a disaster at the weekend.
They did.
Red Bull New York. They really did. They didn't play well. But that's what's going to happen with young players. There's going to be ups and downs, but they really got handed it to them by CF Montreal. They made all sorts of mistakes.
But Laryea was good, wasn't he? I mean,
Laryea was excellent for TFC. He started at right wing back.
Yeah.
Ended up over at left wing back. I still prefer him on the left, not just saying that because I pick him and race for the roster on the left. But
you've not only picked him, you've locked him in a long time ago.
I don't know, Kev. The way he comes inside for the left back position, he's very comfortable on that side. He sort of set up the goal by kind of swivelling inside onto his right foot and terrible defending by Cincinnati. But
a great pass,
lovely ball to Cyle.
You know, I don't know when it was when I first saw him play. It probably was in the John Hurban when I first saw him play at left back, because obviously Alistair Johnston was starting to emerge then. And the one thing I was looking at him all the time, if I ever played on the right-hand side myself, there's times when you go down, you're going down the line and you have to just swing at the ball. You've got to put your foot through it.
Yeah.
I always felt that Richie Laryea wasn't doing it. He would never go down the line and just have a swing with his left foot.
Yeah.
That's developed. And naturally, it comes with more games. You get more confident. You get your body shape right. The angle of approach to the ball becomes a little bit better. And he's really improved on everything now. The opening his foot out onto his left side becomes a lot more easy for him now than it probably was 3 or 4 years ago. So I actually prefer him there. And I think because Canada have Johnson and Segura at that other side, it makes it the more natural one where you'd see him playing. But I think he's developed into a fine left back.
If Richie Laryea had a more consistent end product, he would be playing at a high level, guys. Because it's the one part of his game that I think lets him down at times. He actually fizzed a few great little balls across the box, but
he's played as good now as he ever has. Right? So do you think that if he was playing as he is now when he went over to Forest,
I think he
might have had...
Well, Jed Spence was on fire
that's true.
at that time.
It was such when we say wrong place, wrong time, wrong move and all these sort of things. And
it just started that run, hadn't he, that led to the Premier League.
He probably knew within a month, I'm kind of done here, I'm going to struggle. And he said it when he was on with us, when he was talking about Jed Spence and his emergence. I think he must have felt that straight away. It probably just was the wrong move for him. I think if he went to most of the championship clubs, he would have become established, and we would have seen Richie Laryea probably still playing in England at this stage now. And he had to come back, didn't he, to play games? He simply had to do it.
Yeah,
he did.
It certainly worked out for him, though, the way he's been playing. Did either of you see that that scrap in the game in Brazil between Grêmio and Atlético Mineiro?
That was crazy, wasn't it?
I think they said over 20 red cards, and everybody was in the pitch.
23 red cards, I think. And
punches were thrown, and
well,
it was bad.
We
watched
we watched the Old Firm, didn't we? And at the end of the game, the end of the Old Firm, it spilled over onto the pitch. Fans on the grass and things. It wasn't great.
It was horrible to watch.
It wasn't great to watch at all. But the Brazil one took it to a whole new level of like
what happens on the field,
thuggery on the field, I suppose, don't you? Because it was unbelievable stuff.
That was crazy. That was like, you know, the one with Maradona in the 80s.
Yeah, Bilbao
in Barcelona, where everyone was just going at each other, swinging kicks and punches. The one in Brazil was terrible in its own right. But the Celtic, Ibrox, because it was at Rangers. What happened after that game was really messy as well. And what I couldn't believe is Celtic spilled on when they won the penalty shootout. Rangers obviously reacted, started to come up, and I would say 50 to 100 at least were coming on. The players were just strolling off. The players were calm as anything, walking off. I think a couple of them got involved in a little altercation or two, but I couldn't believe how I would have been getting right up that tunnel, Kev, if it was me. They were just strolling off. I'm telling you. It was...
Did you guys ever get into any kind of a, not brawl, but like...
I've got a great one, actually. I was at Millwall one year playing with Birmingham, and you know what the new den's like. The old den was something, but the new den was as bad. Any den. Playing the game, they got a man sent off. Play another 15, 20 minutes, another man sent off. They've got 9 men, and we were playing well at the time. We beat them 6-0, right? So it's the 91st minute, there's 3 minutes injury time. And they're starting to get closer and closer to the field. They're coming for the back of the stands towards, like, standing in their hordes at the front. And the referee goes to us, listen, I'm going to blow this whistle in 20 seconds. You probably want to edge over to the tunnel side, because I think they might come on the field here. So we're waiting on this whistle. The minute he blew it, we actually started sprinting up the tunnel because they felt like there was going to be an invasion. and everyone just got off the field. There's a few of them kind of spilled onto the field.
You don't want an invasion at Millwall.
Oh,
wow.
that was another thing. And the changing area was like packed and that. We were all kind of worried how we were going to get out of the stadium.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I remember, there was a few pitch invasions
the lower leagues, you
around.
must have had a few.
Well, you know, when I was at Huddersfield, the back end of my career, actually, the more recent one, we beat Bournemouth in a playoff to get to the playoff final. So I think we drew at Bournemouth. We drew at Huddersfield, actually. I think we beat them on penalties. So everyone comes on. Now, what do they do when they get on? They want to get your jersey, you want to get your shirt, don't they? So they're trying to rip your shirt off.
This is after you'd won.
After
your own fans.
Our own fans.
Yeah, right.
So I was okay with it, but there was a lot of our younger players that were really intimidated that 20,000 were spilling onto the pitch and trying to get the jerseys, and you could see a lot of panic set in if you're not. I'm not saying I was ever used to it, but you never get used to it, I suppose. But you've been there before, you've seen it, so you can
get isolated and stuck, right? If enough come on, you're sort of like, it's hard to get to the tunnel at that point, you know?
But that was fans. You never had it with opposing players in the tunnel?
Tunnels. We had the right few tunnels.
A few tunnels, there was a few tunnels.
Every second week there was a tunnel block.
Yeah, there seemed to be, all the time. Playing down, I remember playing down at Millwall, sorry, not at Millwall, at Wimbledon, actually. Wimbledon, going back when they were playing at Selhurst Park.
Right.
And if you go to Selhurst Park, you know, the tunnel's in the corner, isn't it? So everyone gets off to the corner, and something had happened. I think I was at Sunderland. Something had happened on the pitch, and two lads were going at it. I think it was Alex Ray, Scots lad. I'm not going to generalise the Scottish, Stevie, like you generalise the Irish. But he loves he loves mouthing at people, Alex Ray.
Some boy.
Going for someone.
Ben Thatcher.
Probably, someone like that. And it was going, and everyone was down that tunnel, and the tunnel would have been shaking.
What are they, like...
retractable ones.
Polythene tunnels,
We would have a few of those.
I think it happened every second week. Look, there was something happened in the tunnel. A lot of it was handbags and pulling and pushing. There wasn't actually, like, fisticuffs.
I won at Wigan.
One or two
that was with me, actually. Craig Bellamy was giving me loads on the field, and we were playing at the JJB, as it was then. And... Bellamy was giving loads, and I just said, look, I'll see you in the tunnel.
Yeah.
So I ran off ahead of him. I think he tried to get off quickly, but I'd gone. I was in the sun, so I was waiting for him. And as he's coming, he starts mouthing off, knowing he's got four lads in front of him, that's stopping it. I said, get him away, come on then. And I'm going for Bellamy, and he's giving me loads. Anyway, nothing happened, but it was that's how it used to go off in the tunnels.
There was one where my brother Gary was playing for Coventry. I don't know if it was at Burnley, but it was Adi Akinbaye for sure. And I played with Adi at Burnley. Adi was a monster. When he lost it, he needed 5 guys to hold him back. And he would often lose it in a tunnel or on the field. And he was some guy. He was amazing off the field.
There were a couple of big misses that he's in his career that are on YouTube. You know, at one point he was Adi Akinbaye, right, instead of Adi Akinbaye.
He was a great guy, and he was a lovely fella. But when he went in the field, he went a bit crazy.
Do you want to call him that, Adi Akinbaye?
Yeah, I don't call it. If you've seen him, if he came in here, you wouldn't call him.
I didn't. No. I was just saying what other people used to say.
Gaz and him have this little thing on the field, you know, and it's the usual, like, I'll have you, I'll see you in the tunnel. I'll see you in the tunnel, you know, like, he said it all the time. It never, 90% of the time, nothing happened. But he comes in, he missed the tunnel stuff, but he's in the dressing room, and one of the boys, guys was only like 20 at the time, 19, something like that. Oh, did you say that way I can buy it? And he's like, yeah, well, why? He'll be waiting for you. He'll be waiting outside this changing room. He'll be waiting for you. He is crazy. He'll go for you. Gaz was like... He said I was absolutely panicked. You know, what is going to happen here? And you know the tunnel at Burnley, you got to walk right up the tunnel to get to the bus. He was like this every single corner. He was checking if Adi was waiting and I was going to come out and attack him. He got out of there alive, thank God. You don't mess with Adi.
They were the days. You
what
get
a
away
boy.
With it. Get away with
but
it.
I mean that. Well, what we saw in Brazil was incredible.
Yeah, it was too much.
Level.
Anything else from the Canadian perspective? I mean, Cyle Larin
did okay. I watched Larin.
Did okay at the weekend in the FA Cup.
I watched the first half as well. I thought he played well. I kind of got it on repeat.
I think now, right now, especially as Promise David was talking as well on TV at the weekend. Great interview in Belgium.
So natural.
On Belgian TV. He still thinks he can make this World Cup.
Yeah, good for him. He's got to say that.
Of course. But he also said, and there's another one coming as well in 4 more years. Yeah. So he's obviously of the mentality. I mean, it must be difficult when you're on your own, when you go back to your apartment or whatever. And, you know, but he seems as if he's the kind of character that is trying to stay as positive as possible about it. But complete turnaround to 2 months ago right now, because Tani Aloishe's not playing either. I think Cyle Larin's going to start that first game.
He might. I mean, he's arguably playing better than any other striker.
Probably his best form in 2 years. Personally, for him, he's in his best
at the right
form
time.
And he looks as sharp as we've seen him in 2 years as well, Kev. He had some lovely touches. He was getting up there. He was playing a lone striker role, so it was very difficult. He was normally against 2 and 3 players. But I thought he had a good game. And he never really got any chance. He had a couple of half chances where one he came across the box. He should have maybe shot. He tried to play a guy in. Not a bad pass. Ended up leading to a corner. But it was it was there for him to really go for it. But he's playing well. And I think that partnership between David and Larin has always been Canada's best. There's an understanding there. They've played a lot of games together. I'd say at this minute he's getting back towards pole position.
I think regardless of whether Oluwaseyi is getting game time at Villarreal or not, if I'm comparing them both as players, who's the better and who has the most quality, who is the more talented naturally, holding the ball up, bringing other people into play, the awareness.
Yeah.
I think Larin has it. Larin is a better player, I feel. I'm not saying...
But it's also who fits better into what you want to do
and
who complements Jonathan David in terms of that role.
And what Jesse wants. Jesse wants that dynamic pace, power in behind that Oluwaseyi brings. Whereas Larin is a little bit different. He probably doesn't have that dynamic power. But if you look at the relationship and the link-up between him and Jonathan David, that we probably haven't seen as much as we saw 3 or 4 years ago. If we're seeing maybe a reinvigorated or I don't even know what word I'm looking for on Larin, but certainly a player, as I said before, in the best form I've seen him in 2 years. He certainly looks more confident in himself. I don't know. Am I leaning back towards Larin again? It's going to be something again that will go to.
Well, right now it's Larin or Oluwaseyi. If he sticks with that formation,
for sure.
And Oluwaseyi's just not playing.
No, I know. I mean, I hate how we have to do this, but we've always got to say if it's Italy, but we assume it's going to be Italy.
Only for a couple more weeks.
All
those excuses have gone. By the end of this month, then you can just...
It's going to be a game of few chances for Canada.
If it's Italy, then who would you pick?
I'd pick Larin. And I'm going to try and explain why. It's going to be a game of few chances for Canada. It's going to be, a couple of moments where there's maybe a combination and you need that, really subtle, high-level touch that Larin brings. He's brought it for his whole career, especially in a Canadian shirt, where it's just something really subtle. He backs in, he twists, he turns, he lays somebody in, and you get that chance. He opens something up with his quality. And you also probably only see him for 65, 70 minutes maximum. And then you bring on Oluwaseyi, who can stretch the game. And if it is Canada are in the lead or Canada are drawn at that moment and Italy are maybe throwing people forward, Oluwaseyi, to me, is a bigger threat in the last 25 minutes of a game to go and get a goal than he would be for the first 60.
Especially if he's not been playing that many minutes.
If
Oluwaseyi
go and just
has been
give it everything for 20
limited
minutes
off the bench.
30 minutes, whatever it is.
Does the injuries elsewhere play into your mind on that decision as well? Or is that just a straightforward decision that you make regardless of personnel elsewhere on the pitch?
You mean in terms of promise, David's injury? Or?
Well, no, not so much. I'm talking about maybe fullback areas. So there's injuries at fullback, centre halves and things like this.
The experience of Cyle Larin because you're light in other positions.
Maybe. I think you could say that, Kev. It's a good point, actually. But I think it is almost isolated because if it's Italy, it's likely going to be a game that Canada are up against it a little bit.
And it might be moments.
Yeah, and I don't see it as a high press game at that point. I just think Canada would be a little naive. I know they probably want to set a tone in the first game at home where the atmosphere will be red hot, but I don't see it as that, you're on the top of the 18 and you're pressing high every single moment, every single goal kick. I think it has to be a little bit more mature and controlled, and that's where Larin's experience and his knowledge. So
what you're saying then, if it were to be Wales, you're thinking
maybe. If it's a team you're going for, if it's Bosnia, Wales or Northern Ireland, you're saying Canada need to be the aggressor and they're going for it. Maybe it's Oluwaseyi because he is a better presser. If it's Italy, I think Larin's in a pole position.
Right, okay. It's an interesting one. I've never really thought about it like that. I know you've constantly said about the team that Canada faces and it changes. I don't know whether Jesse Marsh thinks that, whether he thinks, look, we've got one style of playing and we're going to use that or try to utilise that style, whoever we play against. But you're right in saying that Italy might be a different game because Italy will be in control of the ball more than Wales or Bosnia or Northern Ireland are going to be anyway. So it does take a different way to open a game up. And you mentioned there about the moments. It's something that will probably stick in my mind going into that game, whoever it is. If it's Italy, say, for instance, Canada might not have a lot of chances in the game. There might not even be a lot of chances actually in the game in general. So it will take a moment. It might take a 1-0 win and not necessarily a great performance, but a scrappy goal, or even a little bit of quality that opens the game up to get that goal, open the deadlock, and then you try and see the game through. And that's, as you say there, it might be Larin for 60, 65 minutes, and then you get other personnel on to try and see the game through.
Almost exactly like his performance at the weekend, where he's often a lone striker because David will need to come back and support the midfield. And he's got to hold the ball up against 2 or 3 and win fouls and get throw-ins and maybe get the team up the park. It'll look exactly like it does. And it seems like he's fitting into that role with Southampton really well. He's the starter. He's the 60 to 70-minute guy. And then Ross Stewart, who got the winning penalty, or someone else comes on, Cameron Archer, someone else comes on to kind of finish it off for Southampton.
There seems to be, I was going to say both to you guys as well, there seems to be a lot of a similar conversation from early on this season with Jonathan David right now at Juventus. And maybe a little bit of doubt whether he's going to stay at Juve beyond this season. Are they looking to offload him?
Saw him linked with Aston Villa overnight.
Aston Villa, I saw that too, actually.
Which I think might be a good landing spot for Jonathan David.
Yeah?
I think that might be, that's the kind of, if you're going to leave Juventus, that's the kind of...
Is it a worry?
Is it a worry what, that he would leave?
Is it a worry just that they're contemplating selling him between now and the end of the season? That he will obviously hear that. His agent will hear that undoubtedly.
But none of that impacts this World Cup right now, does it? I mean, we were talking about Jonathan. That's after the World Cup, and Jonathan David last summer showed he's easily able to. He didn't have a club. Right, and he put that to one side and played for Canada in the Gold Cup.
It's just more his security there playing for Juve at the end of the season. We were talking about him.
Oh, you think in terms of minutes?
Yeah, we were talking about him a month ago on. He looked like he was getting back to somewhere near his best. If he scored up to 10 goals, gets in near double figures before the end of the season, that will be a big difference for Canada. With the return of Vlahovic, he will be back very soon. Is there the doubt that he won't get the minutes? Then that obviously is going to affect his confidence levels in certain ways. Touch is not quite with him. Is this a worry that you think in the next month or so or next couple of months?
I think it's a worry. I think it's a legitimate concern that he starts way less games. He's had this little run here, and unfortunately for Jonathan David and maybe for Juventus in Canada, he's not quite set the house on fire. But I think Spalletti has talked about potentially playing a 2. Where I think he's recognised that David's better with a partner. Which is what he played with a lot.
He's on about David playing as a 10.
He's a bit retreated.
Coming down a bit
Vlahovic
deeper.
would be that. Where does that leave Yildiz, who's their best player? He can play wide, but he's
2 10s
maybe
or
operating more in there. But I don't want to write him off, but I just don't feel like Juventus has been the right fit for whatever reason. That the shirt seems heavy on him. It doesn't seem like he's ever really been comfortable in that black and white striped Juventus shirt. A change, I think. I mean, I don't want to say I was right, but I always wanted them to go England in the first place, as I nearly knocked your tea over, because I felt like that style of football would have been better for him. A little bit more transitional and pacey in terms of the space that he might get. So I'm hoping that he does move, to be honest. I just don't think it's ever going to work at Juventus, Kev.
The other thing we should mention from the weekend is, and there's a lot in terms of, we talked about it on Race for the Roster this week, players out of form, players injured, goalkeeper situation. Maxime Crépeau gets sent off at Yankee Stadium at the weekend for Orlando. Now it's going to be suspended as well. Neither keepers...
Is that a 3-match? It's not a 3-match, is it? Because it's not violent conduct. So it'll be 1 or 2?
1, I would say.
One
game. One game. Don't know for sure, but one game for coming out like that,
He just... I mean, it was weird. He just caught the ball outside. It's a strange place to play.
Totally wrong.
Strange place to play.
Yeah, dimensions are off. And because... the pitch is on an angle. You know how when you're playing, Kev, you see the boarding or you see the fans and you sort of understand where the line is on the pitch.
That as a genuine excuse?
I've heard guys talk about it. I actually spoke to Justin Morrow about this years ago. He says it's so weird. You're sort of backing off and you feel like your peripheral vision tells you, oh, the line's coming here, and it's totally different. I'm not giving him an excuse.
No, I'm not. Because
From all your experience playing in baseball stadiums?
No, well, no. Well, I'll tell you. Well, I've got an experience of playing in the Gaelic football stadium. When we came out of the old Lansdowne Road before the Aviva Stadium was being developed, we moved to Croke Park in Dublin, and it was a Gaelic football stadium, which the dimensions are way bigger. Gaelic football and hurling stadium. So our stadium was there was 20, 40 yards either side of the pit and behind the goals. So you felt a little bit away from the fans, and you felt a little bit. You know, I'd say like you were definitely away from everything. That's the way I would look at it anyway. So I can make a comparison with that. And the only thing I would comment on that was it was just it seemed to drown out the atmosphere more for us. We didn't feel the connection with the supporters like we always had at Lansdowne Road prior to that. That's the only way I would look at it. I'm not too sure about I don't know. I mean, I've never played it in that. I went to watch TFC actually when you guys were working at. Yankee Stadium when we played against...
Oh, I remember that,
I was at that game years ago. I mean, it felt weird to me watching it, I have to say that, because we were so far away from the team in the stand that I was in watching the match. That felt strange watching the game.
Was that the playoffs?
That was the playoffs,
in 2017?
Yeah, TFC battered them, 4 or 5.
5-0.
Yeah, Giovinco scored a hat-trick in that one. And they had Pirlo, Lampard and David Villa in that team, but... NYFC, they absolutely destroyed them.
Were you out for a weekend?
I was running the marathon. I was running the marathon. I run the marathon. If you remember that week as well, that was the week that Donald Trump was inaugurated as well. Sorry, won the election. So I was running the marathon.
That must have been an experience running through New York and over the bridges and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to go on that. Well, I'll tell you a little story in it, right? So
I was just after. It was nice.
I enjoyed it.
You can't ask anything with Kev about. Oh, there's a story. Do you know?
Well, the New York Marathon's the 5 boroughs of New York, isn't it? So it was a great experience. You start off over the bridge at Staten Island. You run across the bridge, and I think then you're into Brooklyn. I think that's right. Anyway, so you do the 5 boroughs of New York. So I was flying. I felt really good. I was flying it first up, but it was. I ran New York. I ran London. Sorry, I'd ran Manchester in England. I'd ran a few different. I think I ran Dublin at that stage as well. But I ran a few marathons. So New York, and I was with the journalist Oliver Holt. I met him. I actually just met him randomly on the ferry when we were going out to Staten Island. So as we're on it, he went, "Whatever you do, save yourself for Queensborough Bridge," he said. And I was like, well, why? He went, no, you just remember it, because it's about halfway through the marathon. Halfway through the marathon, save yourself, right? So I felt fine. I was running... At one time, I would have been close to a 3-hour marathon pace. This time, I would have been maybe about a 3:20, 3:30 marathon pace. So I was around halfway, 1:35, 1:40, something like that. Anyway, I felt good. As I'm going over the bridge, honestly...
So steep.
It was like I was climbing Mount Everest or something. It was like that. So anyway, I'm keep going, and I'm like thinking, Jesus, it's hard. Anyway,
and is it long?
I did my calf, didn't I? Did my calf on the bridge, and it was long. So it was at least 2 mile long, and a mile and a half, 2 mile long, easily. Anyway, I done my calf, and that killed me. So I came off.
So you're hobbling.
You come off the bridge, then down into Manhattan. And that killed me. And I ran it in, it was around about 4 hours, I think I did.
But you still finished?
I finished, yeah.
You were in agony.
But I was in agony. So that night, I went to watch TFC against New York City.
So you did the marathon and then went to the TFC game at night?
Yeah.
And then a few beers.
And then a few...
AJ and I at night, remember?
I wasn't there.
You never came.
You didn't want to come out. I heard the
cup of tea.
I'd never met you at this stage as well. I said, where's...
I don't go.
No, Luke doesn't come out.
He doesn't come out, no.
Could have come out for a pizza. We had a pizza, I think, that night.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, you can't beat a good pizza.
So it was good. So that was it. That was my experience of running the New York Marathon,
Nice.
I won't go back into it again.
That's impressive, though. The 3-hour marathons are pretty good.
I did 3:13 was my best, yeah.
Did you ever do marathon?
No. I'm worried about the calves. I think they would definitely go in a marathon.
Yeah,
I'd love to run a marathon.
Even when I go out running now.
It's really impressive.
Calf always goes.
I think it's great.
Was that the last one you ever did? Or did you come back and do another one?
I did Manchester, I think, again afterwards, yeah.
I'll tell you what my ambition is, to cycle across Canada for charity.
Right.
I'd love to do that.
Oh, we could get that. Couldn't we
do
get
that
that going, couldn't we?
Yeah,
that would take longer than driving from Montreal to Guadalajara. That would take a lot longer than driving to Guadalajara.
I think it's about 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know people that have done it. There's different ways of doing it. You cycle every kilometre, or you can have a kind of bus that follows you, and you have a kind of substation where you rest, and then you get on a bike. Somebody's
Well, you get on the
cycling.
bus, you bike across Canada, but you do part of it on the bus.
Well, some teams do. Somebody's always cycling, so maybe there's a team of 10 and 3 are having a rest.
You've got to do it yourself the whole way.
Yeah, you
No.
can't.
I think so.
Oh, I'm gonna cycle across. I can do that.
Yeah.
I'll cycle across Canada, but I got a bus that
I'll
I'll
do
do.
1 kilometre, get off, have a cup of tea.
Whoa. Listen, you don't sit in a bus for like 24 hours. You have a little rest, then you get back on a bike.
That's
it's
not
like
cycling across Canada,
all right,
then, is
okay,
it?
right. So the other option's the only option, right? But it would be cool.
Cycle.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of
Do it
times a
properly.
year that you can do it as well, obviously, because of weather.
Yeah.
You got to do it, and I think it's like April, May, they say, or fall are
Yeah.
the best times to do it. But it would be an incredible.
Is this
Imagine
what they
you'd
said
see.
to you? Now you're a Canadian citizen, you have to cycle across Canada.
Yeah, that was a deal that I made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
You up for that,
I like
Kev?
that. Maybe
That would be a good TV show,
kids-
actually.
Yeah.
That would be a good TV show.
Should we pitch
Yeah,
that
we
to
should film that.
TSN?
Yeah.
We should film
Well,
that.
he'll be on
Stevie
the
and
bus.
Kev,
Fly your
I'll
wall.
be on the bus, and you two.
He'll have a tannoy, he'll be the... Go on, lads, drink cycling.
Drinking cups of tea. Do you want a cup of tea, lads? Yeah.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But would you do a marathon now?
Marathon man.
No, I couldn't do a marathon now. I've stopped running. I've
The
stopped
back
running.
would go. The back
Yeah.
would go for you,
Yeah.
Kev, I think.
I don't know. I think
Okay.
so.
Well, we've got a great guest coming on this week as we get towards the World Cup. More and more guests as we look into more and more teams. And this week, we're looking at Germany. Well, as we get closer and closer to the World Cup here on Park the Bus, we're trying to give everybody a flavour of some of the different countries that are going to be competing. We had that great conversation with Graham Hunter on Spain and their expectations. Last week, Cyle Larin was on the show as we talked all about France. And you go through these different countries and you hear about all their strengths and think that each week a different guest comes on and you leave thinking, well, they're going to win the World Cup. It's going to be Argentina. How can they not? How can Spain not win the World Cup? After everything Julian said last week, it's got to be France, hasn't it? Well, this week it's Germany. German football expert Raphael Honigstein, a legend of the game, is going to be joining us as we chat all things Germany. Kev.
Yeah, Rafa, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate your time. Rafa, I think first of all, let's get straight to it on Germany. Where are they and where are they in relation to the World Cup, and what do you think the chances are come this summer over here in North America?
Well, I think unlike my esteemed colleagues, I think my take is going to be slightly more pessimistic.
No, you've got to go.
Maybe it's because I'm German. Maybe it's because we exited the World Cup twice in the group stage in the recent editions. But also, I think there is a sense that the answer to your question isn't easy to find. Where is this Germany? What is this Germany team? We don't really know. Just when it looked as if things are going in the right direction with a pretty good Euros, then we had a very poor Final Four in the Nations League where we finished last. The World Cup qualifiers were largely uneventful against pretty obedient opposition, but not real sense of any rhythm and real positive momentum. And that's why I think people are kind of, I wouldn't say worried, but slightly unsure as to how good this Germany team are. The draw for the group stage is a fairly good one, so we should this time, with the help of FIFA's expanded World Cup, make it out of the group stage. Mm-hmm. But whether we are in a position to really challenge the heavyweights, I think a lot of people are uncertain, and I would include myself in that group.
Raf, is that lack of consistency because of the youth in this squad? And is maybe this World Cup a tournament too early? Is this group going to kind of progress and build and become one of the major heavyweights in the world? But is maybe this summer a wee bit too early?
I don't know if it's so much about youth. I think the issue is more that we are very imbalanced. We don't have world-class fullbacks. We are pretty thin in terms of regular centre-backs who play at the highest level. Yes, Jonathan Tah, of course, is having a good season, but Antonio Rüdiger, big problems at Real Madrid, maybe not quite the same player. And then you look at Bundesliga players like Schlotterbeck and so on, and they're good, but they're not quite sort of Boateng, Hummels materials from 2014 with Philipp Lahm, playing either side. So I think there are fantastic options going forward. We have great number 10s. We have decent centre forwards. We have decent central midfielders. But overall, I just don't quite see the depth and the real superstars in this team compared to earlier sides. And you combine that with a national team manager who seems to be second-guessing himself quite often and coming out with different statements every few months of who's going to be his regular starter. The latest one heavily suggesting that Leon Goretzka is now his preferred, at least one of his preferred options in central midfield. This is the Leon Goretzka who he didn't pick 2 years ago to go to the Euros when he was arguably a much better player then. It's hard to understand where the sort of the gelling, the togetherness is going to come from with all these changes and that lack of real quality, I think, in some positions.
I think it's interesting, Stevie, that he talks about fullbacks. Julian said that might be a weakness in France. And it seems to be the game's maybe evolved differently, I suppose, that fullbacks, we've not had so much of an onus on fullbacks attacking the way that they were maybe 10 or 15 years. So we've focused on wingers and wing play, number 10s and things like that. And that's maybe quite evident with the German side as well, Rafa. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. But in relation then to your attacking department, and Musiala recently back from injury, Leonard Call, some of these young players that you've got in the attacking side for Germany, where are they? Do you think Musiala will start to shine like perhaps he was at the Euros a couple of years ago? Is he at that level now after the injury? Do you see him getting back somewhere near to there?
It's still early days. He's missed so much football due to that horrific leg break in the Club World Cup. He's only just beginning to hit his stride again. He's played his first game over 90 minutes on Friday night since returning from injury. And that kind of, against Borussia Mönchengladbach, that kind of shows you that as of now, he wouldn't be quite ready. I think 3 months down the line, time is working in his favour and hopefully he'll be in a much better position. Similar case with Florian Wirtz, who hasn't quite had the same rhythm. A few injuries here and there, missing games, struggling to find his feet at Liverpool, certainly to begin with. So both of them will hope that the World Cup will come at a time when they found both their fitness and their form again. And then Leonard Kahl is that's a big question. Will Nagelsmann pick him? Or will Nagelsmann say, you know what, we have enough options, especially in central attacking midfield areas, he's not going to play. But my guess is that on the right-hand side, where Leroy Sané is still there, but hasn't really been setting the world alight in Turkey, there's a good option, at least from the bench, if Leonard Kahl would be available. So I think he's got a very good chance of of being in the squad. Whether he's going to be starting, I think all things being equal, everyone being fit, he's probably going to be number 14, 15 in the squad rather.
Kev, you've been on the Leonard Kahl hype train for some time now, haven't you?
Right on it early.
I saw it early, yeah. I did see that one quite early with him. But I suppose it's the same, but I suppose across Bundesliga. Bundesliga has been almost the benchmark for a lot of teams around, a lot of nations around the world, and how the development of youngsters have gone, haven't they?
But you were also on the Wirtz flop at Liverpool very early. Even before he kicked a ball for Liverpool, you'd written him off.
Not necessarily like that.
You wrote it before he even kicked a ball.
Say they couldn't cope with Premier League.
I thought he might struggle to start with, and I think it was probably how Liverpool were going to play, and that it was a general, maybe a bit of a generalisation, not necessarily a thorough analysis on it, but. I watching him play for Liverpool in the Community Shield game, and he had so much space. I didn't feel as though he'd get that sort of space. But in fairness to Wirtz, Raf, he's really started to pick up, and I think certainly the last 5 to 10 games, I would say, we're really starting to see Florian Wirtz that we saw prior to signing for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think playing on the wing has made it slightly easier for him. Of course, he has a license to go into the central areas, but starting in a position where there's just a bit more space to collect the ball in the Premier League, I think has turned a bit of a switch. And of course, he played there very often for Leverkusen as well. I mean, ironically, part of the reason why he preferred Liverpool to Bayern was that Liverpool had a very clear plan for him to be that number 10, if not in terms of the shirt number, but in terms of his positioning and his importance on the pitch. But Arne Slot was forced really to change it and mix it up a little bit to give him a bit more space out there on the left, and I think it's worked a lot better for him. But of course, he wasn't so happy when Musiala was in the middle and he was on the left for Germany at the Euros, a lot of people were slightly disappointed in his performances. He seemed a little bit more peripheral to Germany's game, with Musiala, as you said, running the show. So that's going to be an interesting debate, how those two will fit together, and maybe Lennart Kahl as well. But it's not a problem. We have other problems. And those problems, I think, at the back. Just one more sentence about the fullback situation. Germany, of course, are no strangers to this. When they started the World Cup in 2014, Philipp Lahm was in midfield because we had injury problems with Schweinsteiger and Khedira not being fully fit. So we played with 4 centre-backs the first 5 games, and we just did enough to get into the latter stages. And then, of course, we mixed it up the first 4 games, and then we mixed it up in the quarterfinals against France when Philipp Lahm came back. But we don't have a Philipp Lahm, and that's the problem. The problem used to be that there was only one Philipp Lahm, and the other side of the back four was a bit of a weak spot. Now there's no Philipp Lahm on both sides. Either side of the backs are a bit of a weak spot.
That sounds like Stevie's dream, playing with 4 central defenders.
Yeah, perfect. Just get a nice solid back line. No.
You mentioned a favourable draw, Curacao, Ivory Coast and Ecuador. When that draw came out, was the talk very much about Germany? The expectation is that they win the group and win it quite comfortably, Rafa?
I think the expectation was to win the group in every tournament, really, in recent years. But because we had to eat humble pie and getting knocked out in the group stage, people are prepared to take each game at a time and just say, you know what, this is going to be very hard not to qualify from, especially with Curacao probably going to be slightly outmatched and lots of goals being scored on paper. That makes it easier, even if you were to finish third, which I think is going to be difficult in this group if you're Germany. But even let's say that would be somehow an issue, you could still probably go through as one of the best third-place teams with a healthy goal difference. So it's almost a perfect draw for Germany. And Nagelsmann has talked up the difficulty, has said, people underestimate this group. And of course, the Ivory Coast especially are going to be formidable opponents. But then neither Ecuador nor Curacao are nowhere near world-class level. So it's as good a draw as Germany could have hoped for.
Explain to us a bit more about Nagelsmann, please, Raf. He's a manager who everyone expects to be in club football. He's been in international football maybe a little bit longer than certainly I expected. Where is he? I know there's some talk about him going back to Bayern Munich recently. Is this his last tournament as an international manager, or do you think he might be there a little bit longer?
Well, initially, when he was employed, there was very much an understanding, both from the German FA and from himself, that this is going to be a one-off at the Euros. But then both sides really enjoyed working with each other. I think there was this positive momentum, especially at the Euros, and there was a sense that we don't really have anyone better at this moment, with Jurgen Klopp still at Liverpool then and now floating in the background as sort of a shadow German national team manager who the clamour will be big for if and when Nagelsmann decides to leave of his own volition or because the World Cup is another disaster. But he seems to have enjoyed it. He also had approaches from Spurs, for example, from Chelsea. I don't think he was necessarily 100% sold on them. They didn't seem to be 100% sold on him. But there is no doubt that he will not see out his career at Germany doing this for the next 20 years. I think it's very clear that either this summer or at the very latest, I would guess after the Euros, he'll go back to club football. In the meantime, he needs to show that he has matured a little bit, because that was perhaps his biggest problem at Bayern. His man management was a little bit lacking, I think, in seniority and in calmness. And that's why things didn't work out, because in terms of his tactical and technical expertise, there's no doubt he's one of the best coaches, but he just needs to become slightly calmer and perhaps more predictable when it comes to managing big egos in the dressing room.
Just one thing, Raf, you mentioned there earlier on about Club World Cup and Bayern at that last summer. Is there any potential that Nagelmann's might change the team tactically going into this World Cup in North America? Like, Luke, you were at a lot of the games at Club World Cup, weren't you? And you realise how difficult it was for a lot of the sides to play the natural style of football. Do you see that, Raf? Do you see Nagelsmann adopting or trying to adopt the system?
Well, they're going to be in Toronto, which could be hard. I think Houston's the first one, right? Which is undercover, so that goes in their favour. But you know what a June day in Toronto could be like. It might not be ideal.
No, it will be. It will be hot. I mean, I'd probably say that. It's more so when and if Germany get beyond the group and get out into the knockout stages.
I mean, Joachim Löw famously adjusted things in 2014 because of the weather in Brazil. We mentioned the back four, the four centre-backs, at least in the early stages, a slightly more conservative approach. I think the way that now the games have been scheduled with lots of evening games and indoor games, I think it's less of an issue than it perhaps would have been looking at the Club World Cup. But it will be at the back of his mind that you might not be able to press for 90 minutes. You might not be able to play free-flowing football through 90 minutes because it's going to be just too hard. At the same time, we saw how well PSG played. We saw how well Bayern played. We saw Chelsea playing pretty exciting stuff to win the Club World Cup in difficult conditions. So I don't think it's going to be a 180-degree change to Germany sitting back and playing on the break. That wouldn't be playing to our strengths, and it's not Nagelsmann style.
June 20th in Toronto, Germany against Ivory Coast. So probably the biggest game in terms of the toughest test that they'll face in that group stage. I want to ask you about a couple of players that Canadians know very well. Alphonso Davies at Bayern and also Thomas Muller, who has made the move, of course, to Vancouver. But before we just move off the World Cup, you're very close to the Austrian team as well, Raf. They've got Argentina, Algeria and Jordan in their group. What should the expectations be for Austria here at this World Cup?
Well, the expectations are that Austria should make it out of the group, which is not going to be a foregone conclusion because Algeria are very strong, as we know, and Argentina are the World Cup holders, and it's going to be difficult to get anything from the game. Jordan, on paper, should be the game that they win. If they pick up one more point in the last two, 4 points should be enough, in theory, to finish as one of the best three third teams. But of course, it's not guaranteed, especially if you lose a game heavily. So a tricky group as far as I think the actual games are concerned, but one that on paper looks as if Austria should do it. The expectations are quite high because it's Austria's first World Cup since 1994. Since 1998, everyone is hugely excited to be back there. A whole generation of players has never played in this competition, but at the same time, I don't think we can necessarily expect Austria to have an easy ride. The competition is going to be, I think, pretty difficult to break down. Even Jordan, I think, are not going to be a walkover.
I think Ralf Rangnick's did a brilliant job there, Raf. Is it a squad that's like really balanced, or do they have like stars or star power that can take them further than maybe a lot of people expect? And I'm thinking of a guy that you'll know really well in Baumgartner, who I've been shouting about for years. But has he took his career onto the next level yet, or has he still got a bit more to give? You know, he's someone who I thought might have really stepped forward and became in the sort of discussion of world-class talents. Is he kind of let us down a little bit like that, or is he under the radar and is he going to have a great World Cup?
Well, he's having a great season. He's having his best ever season at Bundesliga level, scoring lots of goals for this Leipzig side, and he's a very important player. He was arguably their best performer at the Euros, where they had this fantastic group stage run and won the group. But there are other, talents there. You have Marcel Sabitzer, who's very, very useful for them. Conny Leimer is having a fantastic season at Bayern. He can play right back, left back, central midfield, right winger, left winger, even false nine if they need one. So he's an absolute superstar in terms of the importance of the team, if it perhaps not a household name worldwide. And then you have the veterans. You have Alaba still at the back, running the show. Hopefully he'll be fully fit. Again, an injury now for Real Madrid, but he should be back. You have Arnautovic, who's 37, still scoring important goals. You have Michael Gregoritsch, who's the wrong side of 30, but very important. He scored the winning goal. The goal that equalized, the goal that got them to the World Cup with the equalizer against Bosnia. So there's quality throughout the team. No real superstars at the level of, an Mbappe or so on, but Austrian football is unlikely to produce this. But it's a team that knows what they're doing. They're very difficult to play against. They like playing against teams that play football, as we saw against the Dutch, for example, or even against France in in the Euros, where they did fairly well, even though they lost. And I think especially Argentina is the kind of game where I can see them maybe surprising Argentina a little bit and getting a draw there. But yeah, I mean, they're not going to be among the favourites. If they finish second, they'll probably have to play Spain. So that's going to be a really, really difficult one, and one they would like to avoid. But at the same time, I think just being there after 20 years of absence is going to be fun enough, and I think they will make it out of group stage.
I love talking about Austria.
Maybe try and finish third if I was getting
I know.
you know.
Yeah.
I love talking about Austria just because it brings back the memories of our pre-Qatar trip to Vienna for the Canada camp when they played. We went to that game
Croatia.
Austria played Croatia at Ernst Happel Stadium there.
Amazing,
one of the most
it?
incredible atmospheres I've ever been in, and it was a Nations League game. It was like the flags, the everything, the noise. It was an incredible night. And what a trip.
Yeah.
What a trip that was, 10 days in Vienna.
Not a lot of work getting done on that trip, was it?
Alphonso Davies, how concerned do you think Canadians... Right now, Stevie does this feature here called Race for the Roster, Raph, and it's taken the nation by storm. Where
not quite, Raph.
Each week he names his 26-man squad and he names the starting 11 that Jesse Marsch is going to play in the opening game. And right now he has Alphonso Davies, actually, even though he's only ever played left-back for Canada under Jesse Marsch, he has him in the left-wing position because he thinks that that's where Jesse Marsch is going to play him come the tournament this summer instead of at left-back. And that some of that maybe is down to the fact Alphonso Davies wants to play a bit further forward for Canada than he does for Bayern. What's the view on Alphonso Davies right now at Bayern in terms of the injuries, where he's coming back from? How concerned should we be that he is going to be ready and fully fit for this World Cup this coming summer?
I think it's fair to be a little bit concerned because he still hasn't quite found the explosive pace, the form, the goal-scoring threat that we've seen before he got injured. He's still finding his feet. He unfortunately picked up another injury. He's just about overcome it. He might feature in the game against Atalanta for Bayern, maybe from the bench, but should be back in the starting 11 maybe in a week's time or so. So he's coming back, but hasn't quite hit the same heights that we saw from him maybe a couple of years ago even. So yes, slight concern, but again, there's still 3 months' time to find that rhythm, to find that form, and he is such an important player for Bayern with his pace and the way he is almost a cheat code and allows you to play that high line that they desperately need him, I think, when it comes to playing the real heavyweights later on in the Champions League. So we are certainly, from a Bayern perspective, very much in the same camp as the Canadians, trying to do anything possible to get him back to this level. But I think you should be in luck in terms of the timing. I think there's just enough time for him to find that form before it really matters in the World Cup.
Raf, how real was the rift between Bayern and Canada Soccer and Jesse Marsch? Was that a real thing? Because it was highlighted here after the Alphonso Davies injury, after he went back to Bayern. And what was actually said around it from the Bayern perspective or the Bayern point of view?
Yeah, it was very real. Bayern were very, very upset. The fact that they got him back on crutches with an ACL because of the fact that he didn't feel quite ready to play. I think if a normal ACL happens, that's just bad luck. It's one of those things. But he went into the game not being fully fit, and they got very, very upset. And they felt that this was perhaps a risk unnecessarily taken. Now, I don't know about the ins and outs, if that ever came to anything. Bayern threatened to have legal moves, etc. I don't think anything ever really happened there. But the annoyance, the frustration, that was very real, especially because it came at a time when Bayern were really going for the Champions League and really, really needed him. And of course, they got knocked out by Inter. And with Davies there, it might have been a very different story.
Is there a feeling, Raf, from Bayern's point of view, that Jesse Marsch in Canada sort of convinced him to play in that game and sort of cajoled him to be out there?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult for any player in the national team to say, I'm not going to play. It's important for the coach, if it's important for your own self-esteem, you're proud to play for your nation, you want to represent, it's an important game, you'll do anything to play. So I don't think anyone blamed him. I don't think anyone blamed Canada in principle for trying to get their best player or one of the best players onto the pitch. It's just that I think he wasn't 100%. At least that is the view of Bayern, that he wasn't 100% fit to begin with, and maybe would have been better if he'd been left out or managed differently. And I think that's where the frustration and the rift comes from the fact that it should have been better, both for Bayern and for Canada, if they'd just played it safe rather than playing him in this game.
We'll finish on Thomas Muller in just a moment, but just mentioning Jesse Marsch there comes to mind, obviously, that he had success in both Austria and Germany with the clubs that he was in charge of. How's he viewed? Obviously, since then, he went to England and he took a little bit of a hit in the Premier League there. How's he viewed in terms of his reputation as a coach in both Germany and Austria?
I think his reputation is still very good for the reasons that you mentioned. He was successful. He played some good stuff, both at Salzburg and at Leipzig. Leipzig started well and then tailed off quite quickly. I think his football was a little bit too extreme in the way that I think his ideas were perhaps not best suited to the Leipzig team at the time. I think to just put it into context for your viewers, under Julian Nagelsmann, they had moved on a little bit from the classic RB Leipzig blueprint of pressing and extreme verticality to a more balanced and more sort of varied approach with the ball, because that's very much where Nagelsmann is. He is not one of those 100% pressing verticality guys. He's more influenced by Guardiola and playing with the ball and so on once you have it. And Jesse, I think, wanted to go almost the extreme way again to the old school or old style of Leipzig. And I think you had a lot of players who weren't really a good fit for that system. And in the end, it didn't quite work out. But I don't think that necessarily is a problem for him when it comes to his reputation. You know, he will always have offers at this kind of level in Germany and certainly in Austria. And if his stint now with Canada goes well, of course, that will only enhance his standing.
Just finally then, Raf, we have to talk about Thomas Muller, one of the greats of the game. And, you know, it was a huge surprise to us when, I said to these guys before, when I was calling Thomas Muller and his final Bayern game at the Club World Cup, there was not anything in my mind that thought that I would then be calling his MLS games with Vancouver later on in the year. It was just like, if you suggested that, I would have said there's absolutely no chance Thomas Muller ends up in Vancouver. We've seen and we've talked to other players on the Whitecaps about how much his presence, not only on the field but off it, has changed a club, has changed players within that locker room, has helped develop them into different people. We've seen Ali Ahmed, who had that final step on the top, to Norwich in the off-season, talk about how his game changed in terms of Thomas Muller coming in and being such an influence. How much surprise was there when he left that Vancouver was his destination? And presumably everyone is following what he's been doing there in Vancouver so far, which has been a really big success.
Yeah, I don't think as many Germans have watched Vancouver games and followed them ever in this club. But that's the draw that Thomas Muller is, and everyone was really, really excited to see what is it he's doing. And of course, he made it very far and nearly won it in the end in that final against Messi's Miami. I don't think there's any surprise that he's having a big impact, because he is a guy that has a big impact. He's a big talker. He's a big organizer. He's a big motivator. His impact as a footballer doesn't come necessarily from having this unbelievable pace and technique or, dribbling skills, but he is very, very smart. He's a real glue in the dressing room, and he makes players around him better, as you mentioned. And he's almost a coach on the pitch, and that is hugely beneficial for coaches who know there's somebody who understands what they want and who can coach in game and help players to be in the right position and do the right thing. And that's where his real value comes as a leader, who provides that that sense of direction. And yeah, I mean, I expected him to be that successful. I expected him to have that kind of impact, and it just goes to show that from an early age he had to focus on these, if you will, non-physical attributes to his game, because he was never that explosive or talented a player in terms of pure talent. And that's why I think even towards the later stage of his career, he still is able to have that much of a positive effect on any team he plays in, because those things, of course, they don't leave you.
Yeah, I think there's very few that have made the impact that we've seen Thomas Muller make at Vancouver.
Overall impact.
Across the MLS. It's been an incredible thing. Just before we do let you go, I know Luke's trying to get you off, Raph, but there's just a quick one.
That's a surprise. You're asking another one.
No,
we're out of time, but Kev's got 4 more questions.
Just in relation to Bayern and where they are right now, and in relation to Harry Kane and Luis Diaz and the impact that's undoubtedly going to be expected from England and Colombia at this World Cup. Where can those two individually go? Because I think Colombia are maybe a bit of an underdog.
They are.
We've seen them. We know how good Colombia can be. And with Luis Diaz, he could be the game changer for them. So,
and Harry Kane's the best striker in the world, as you keep saying.
Every Englishman will tell me that Harry Kane's the best striker ever. So where do you think these two are? And in relation to Bayern, do you think they could take Bayern all the way to the Champions League, Raph?
So, first of all, I think Luis Diaz has been a phenomenal success for this Bayern team. He is relentless. He is always fit. He is always on. He will always deliver 7, 8 out of 10. Not every game, every single minute. He doesn't have necessarily the same highs as Michael Olise has on the other side, but he doesn't have any lows. He doesn't lose the ball cheaply. He will always track back. He is always dangerous every single moment of the game. And that is such a huge benefit and huge asset for the coaches. They absolutely love him there. Of course, Harry Kane is similar, but you add the goals, you add the leadership, you add the passing, which has gone to another level. His passing is just absolutely ridiculous when he drops deep and just sprays these 60-meter balls to play in the full the wide players, and then join up the attack a little bit later on, and still scores an unbelievable amount of goals. He has gone from already being in a very small group of world-class players to even higher this season. I didn't think it was possible, but he has reached another level yet this season in terms of his all-round football and his application. In the 90th minute, with 4-1 up, you'll still find him in your own box trying to clear headers, or making a sliding challenge on an opposing winger. And that kind of devotion, commitment to the team game, but still having all the attributes of a classic centre forward who tend to be more selfish, but score goals and are always there when it matters, when the ball falls into the right spot. It makes him a complete player that is almost unreal at times. And those two, along with Olise and along with Kimmich behind them, and along with hopefully a very fit Musiala, will go a long way to giving Bayern a real chance. But the draw, as we said at the beginning of this segment, is very, very tough. If they make it beyond Atalanta, which I think they will, it'll be either Real Madrid or Man City after that, and then probably Liverpool. So that is still a long way to go before you can meet Arsenal in all likelihood in the final in Budapest. So early days, but this Bayern team have what it takes to go really far. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, you can come on this podcast anytime you like. I mean, I thought that he was going to convince me that Germany would win the World Cup. Now I'm thinking it's England.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking. I didn't think at the start of this today I would be leaving this thinking about how Harry Kane is going to lead England to winning the World Cup. But there you go. These guys don't respect Harry Kane that much.
I respect him. Excuse me.
Stevie does.
They discount penalties.
Well, I want to ask Raph, is he the best striker in the world, Raph, in your opinion?
Is he a better signing than Lewandowski? Is he a better player for Bayern than Lewandowski as well, Raph?
It's a bit unfair comparing them, because Lewandowski was also unbelievable for Bayern, and of course did it in 9 years, I think, in total. I don't know if he's going to stick around for quite as long. Harry Kane is a little bit older, of course, but his all-round game and the way he interacts with his teammates and as a voice in the dressing room, he is a bigger player than Lewandowski. Lewandowski was doing his own thing. He was scoring goals, but didn't really connect that much with the fans, with the teammates, even with players on the pitch. Kane is in a different galaxy when it comes to being a team player, but still scoring the same amount of goals. So better signing, I'm not sure, but is the signing that Bayern dreamt of. And if you look at the fact that it cost them 100 million, a lot of people are saying, well, that's a lot of money for a 30-year-old. I think that money looks absolutely cheap and a real bargain in relation to what he's provided on the pitch so far and off it.
Raf, really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Maybe we'll run into you at some time in the World Cup this summer. Thanks for all of your insight. Appreciate it today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Raf.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure, anytime.
German football expert Raphael Honigstein with us on Park the Bus.
Great
Fascinating,
insights.
yeah.
Yeah, great insights. He knows his football, Raf, doesn't he? He's seen a lot of it, and really interesting to see how he judges players, how he rates them over the years.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that was that end part there between Lewandowski and Kane, really interesting.
Well, it is interesting.
He knows the game. If he knows Harry Kane is that good,
yeah,
then
He's so happy, isn't he?
that's made my day.
He was nodding the whole
That has
way.
made
Rafi,
my day.
He's
Every
nudging me.
time
He's
he's
like,
talking, all the
he's
time I'm
nodding
going,
his head.
here we go, here
I
we
told
go,
you,
this
that's
is
it,
it.
we're going to win. I think the interesting part was that I always remember when, because Bayern traditionally were not a team that went and paid 100 million for players.
Yep.
They broke the mold to get Harry Kane in. And for him to say that he's exceeded all expectations, considering the amount of money that was spent.
Over 30-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, not to misquote, but he talked about there the comparison with Lewandowski, and as a team player being in a different galaxy.
Yes.
It's almost like that what they expected of Thomas Muller.
Yes.
Not necessarily Kane being a coach on the field, but
Yeah.
just being part of that club and
influence,
part of that community, and the
Yeah.
influence stretching far beyond the field is something Harry Kane is bringing.
I think it's one tradition within German football that we've heard about, haven't we? About it is the community.
Yep.
Obviously, the game itself is dominated by fan ownership, so it's very different model than the rest of world sport in many respects. And Harry Kane has bought into everything that's expected of him at Bayern, and it's not just scoring the goals. We know
We're
that.
not surprised with the goals, are we?
No, we're
we
not
knew
surprised.
the goals would come.
Correct, yeah.
But the fact that he integrated himself so well in Bavaria does surprise me a little bit, Kev.
Yeah.
I thought that he might struggle to settle. He seems like a very English boy. You know, he likes everything about England, and he's went there and he's just integrated himself in. And I think it's testament to the person that he is. He's a humble guy. He's a hard worker. He talks about every game he scores a goal, but every game he does a defensive action, whether it's a header in his box or, as Raf says, a slide tackle coming back, that's significant as well for the team. He sets a tone that I think just permeates through the entire side.
I'm not wanting to generalise the English, Stevie, as you were saying there as well. Like, this boy struggled to come to Toronto, which is an English-speaking city, so you can only imagine.
It's worked out great for him, and even better when he sits there enjoying his life in Munich, looking at what could have been one place outside the relegation zone with a dreadful Spurs side, with managers churning over and
look,
it was time to leave.
There was options. He could have gone to Manchester City before, couldn't he? The Manchester City wanted to sign him, and Spurs and Harry Kane both said no to that move.
Yeah.
So he decided to leave the Premier League.
And he's a better player now for it.
Without a doubt.
He is a better player, all-round player. I'll say this though, he's not scored a lot of knockout goals for England. And when he talks about, I'm telling you,
Kev's already got those
let me
stats.
say,
He's got a few penalties,
a few penalties. When he talks about that leadership stuff, if he really is that elite level, he has to take England.
I think it's a
over the line.
genuine point, and I know we'll have the joke about it. No, but England, with Harry Kane, in general, England's big players, when they've got to the late stages of tournaments, have struggled. They all have. So whether or not, I know they got to the Euros in 21, so people can maybe knock that down a little bit, but when push came to shove in that Italy game, Harry Kane didn't produce. Some of the other big players did not produce. That was the case in the World Cup.
Wasn't it 21? We were even talking about, do they need to pull him out of the team?
Take him out. Well, that was a talk.
Yeah, we did.
Definitely in the last Euros as well, where Kane was struggling, Bellingham was struggling. So England's big players, and that comes down to pressure. We know that the pressure that's been put on them from the media, from expectations in England. So it's about them coming to terms with that. And if Kane and Bellingham produce the level that we know they can produce, England will be a serious threat.
So what I'm hearing for you, just to finish off the pod this week, is on a positive note, that England made it to the finals of those last 2 Euros without Harry Kane being at his best.
Yes.
Now, with Harry Kane even better than before, they're going to lift the World
Cup.
Cup.
He's a
bit older, isn't he? Can he
well, that's the
produce
pressure
it,
we're putting on him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can he finish it off?
Okay, well, that's a good point to finish on, I think. The
Excellent.
fact that England are... that's that out of
England
everything we've
favourites. Is
discussed
that what you
today,
heard there?
we leave Park the Bus knowing that England are
Favourites
favourites
to
to
win.
win the World Cup this summer with Harry Kane getting the Golden Boot.
Get out of
We'll see you again next week. Thank you for listening and watching.
Thanks for watching Park the Bus. You can catch new episodes every Tuesday, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.